Hi everyone, Kevin here. Today we're going to learn the basics of HTML, or what stands for Hypertext Markup Language. I know that may not mean very much right now, but the thing to keep in mind is that it's the basic building block of the web. When you type in a website address like, let's say kevincookie.com, the web server sends back an HTML file to your web browser, say Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, that tells your browser how to display the content on the page. In this video, we're going to build a very simple HTML page, and you're welcome to follow along. We'll go through this step by step. And the great thing is, you don't have to install anything. You already have all the tools that you need. We'll start with the basic HTML structure, what elements you have available. We're not going to touch CSS or cascading style sheets, which defines the look and feel of the page. We're also not going to touch on JavaScript, which allows you to make a website more interactive. We're just looking at the essentials of HTML. So if you're ready to learn about HTML, let's check this out. Here I am on my desktop, and we are going to create an HTML website directly on your computer. I happen to be running Windows, but this will work on any operating system. On my desktop, I'll right-click, and let's go down to New. At the very top of this menu, let's click on Folder, and this places a new folder on my desktop. I'll title it Kevin Cookie Company Website, and feel free to do the same if you would like to follow along. Then let's click into this folder. This opens up File Explorer. At the very top, let's click on View and then go all the way to the bottom to Show. Within this menu, we see the option for File Name Extensions. Make sure that there's a check mark next to this, and you'll see why in just a moment. Let's now click out of this menu. Let's now right-click, and within this menu, let's go to New, and then let's select Text Document. This now places a new text document in the Kevin Cookie Company website. And because we turned on file name extensions, you'll see that the extension is .txt. Now, we want to create an HTML file. So let's select all of this, and in place of this text, let's type in index.html. Look at that. We're creating our very first HTML file. Let's now click away. And when we click away, we get a dialog telling us that we're changing the file name extension and that the file might become unusable. That sounds scary, but we know why we're changing it to .html. So let's click on Yes. And as soon as we do that, you'll now notice a logo appears next to the file name. This simply means that Windows knows what application is associated with this file. Microsoft Edge is my default browser, which is why we see the Edge logo here, but you might see the Google Chrome logo if that's your default browser. Let's now click on this file, and this opens up Microsoft Edge, or maybe it opens up Google Chrome. And look at that, we've now opened our very first HTML file. But you'll notice that there's nothing in this file. It's completely blank. And that makes sense because we haven't yet added anything to that HTML file. Let's now close out this browser window. Back in File Explorer, I now want to edit my HTML file. So I've opened up an application called Notepad. It's a really simple application, and you don't have to install it. It comes pre-installed on Windows PCs. Especially for creating a very basic HTML website, Notepad will work just fine. To edit this file index.html in Notepad, simply press and hold on this file and then drag and drop it into Notepad. And up at the top, we'll see that it's opened up a new tab for index.html. I'll click onto the Untitled tab and let me close out of that. So here we just have this one file open. And down below, I can type in some text. Let's type in Kevin Cookie Company. And then I'll press Ctrl S and that saves the file. Back over here, let's click on index.html. And that opens up Microsoft Edge. And look at that, we've now included some content into our HTML file. Nice work so far. Let's close back out of Edge. Back within File Explorer, I want to be able to edit my website side by side with my browser window so I can see all of the different changes that I'm making. I'll snap this window over to the left-hand side. And next, I'll click into File Explorer, and let's open up this index.html file again in the browser, and let's snap this over to the right-hand side. And now I have my notepad opened up side by side with my web browser. This way I could see all of the changes that I'm making. I now want to add some additional text to my HTML file. I'll press enter on my keyboard, and here I'll paste in some additional text. You can pull this text from the kevincookiecompany.com website if you simply want to copy and paste it into your index.html file. I'll press Ctrl S in Notepad, that saves the file. Then I'll click into the browser window. And a really easy way to refresh the view is simply press the F5 key, and that'll refresh it. And here I see all of that text within the browser window. If you look closely at the text in the web browser, it doesn't quite match up with what we see in the HTML file. I'll zoom in a little bit here. I say the Kevin Cookie Company, this is my title, and then I have a new line where it jumps to deliciousness in every bite. If we look over at the HTML file, here it says Kevin Cookie Company, and it just runs into that next sentence. So why is that? Well, HTML is what's called a declarative language. We need to declare what things are. So I need to tell it, hey, this is a title, or this is a header, this is a paragraph, or maybe this is a list. I need to tell the computer the meaning of the different content that I have in my file. And to do that, we're going to use something called elements and also tags. Let's now insert our very first tag. I want Kevin Cookie Company to be the header of this entire page. To insert a tag, we're going to enter in the less than symbol, followed by H for header. Then I'll enter in a 1. This is the biggest header. And then I'll enter in the greater than symbol. So there's my very first tag. Now I could save my file, and over on the right-hand side, I'll press F5 to refresh. But whoa, look at that. It turned everything into a header. I don't want that. So if we look up at the top, you'll see that I opened the tag with H1, but I also need to close the tag at the very end. So here again, I'll type in H1. But to close a tag, we need to enter a / before H1, and this lets the browser know that we are closing this tag at this point. This whole section together, the opening tag, the text, and then the closing tag, this is referred to as an element. And an HTML page is made up of many different elements. I'll press Ctrl S to save my file, and over on the right-hand side, let's press F5, and look at that. The Kevin Cookie Company is now the header, and all of the other text is smaller than the header. That's exactly what I wanted. Over on the left-hand side for the header, you can choose header 1, which I currently have set, all the way down to header 6. So here I'll change it to a 6, save the page, and let's refresh it over on the right-hand side. And here you see that it's a lot smaller. Now, I actually want this to be the title of my page, so header 1 is the most appropriate for this. But I also want deliciousness in every bite to also be a header. Here, I'll lower that text down, and let's insert another header. Here, I'll enter in the less than sign, H, but this time I'll enter in 2. And the reason why is Kevin Cookie Company is the main title. And this is a subheader, so I don't want it to be on the same level as my title, which is why I'll use 2 here. And just like we did in this element up on top, we need to close it. Here I'll enter in the closing tag, I'll type in H2, and then the greater than sign, and here I have my second header. I'll save this page, and over on the right-hand side, let's refresh it. And look at that. Here I have my title, and then here I have my subheader. As you insert different headers into your HTML file, don't think of how it looks. Instead, choose the header based on the meaning that you want to convey. Later on, you can use something called CSS to change the look and the feel, but for now, we're just concerned about the meaning of the different items within your HTML page. Within my HTML file, I have all of this text down here at the bottom, but I don't declare to the web browser what this is. And this is a paragraph of text. So I want to insert a paragraph element. Right up here, let's enter in the less than sign, and here I'll type in a P, and then I'll enter in the greater than sign. Now, you'll see that with these different tags, you can use uppercase letters or lowercase letters. They are case insensitive. So here I'll enter in the lowercase letter. You'll typically find that they're entered in lowercase, but you really don't have to worry. I'll copy this tag, and right down here, I want to close it. I'll move that text down, and here let's close out this paragraph. And right here, I'll enter in another paragraph for baking is our passion and we take it very seriously. And here I'll also close it out. On this page now, we have 4 different elements. This is one element, we have the second, here's our third element, and then we also have a 4th element. I'll save the file, and over on the right-hand side, let's press F5 to refresh. And here you see that I have a paragraph, and then down here I have another paragraph. Now, because I declared these as separate paragraphs, here it inserts spacing between these different paragraphs. Within this block of text, you see that I say every cookie made at the Kelvin Cookie Company is crafted with only the finest ingredients. And I really want to emphasize the text every. We can insert an element within another element, or basically a nested element. Over on the left-hand side in our HTML file, here I say every. And I'm going to open a tag and close a tag, and let's use EM for emphasis. And after every, here I'll close it out and type in EM. So here I have one element within another element. Let's now save this file, and over on the right-hand side, I'll press F5, and look at that. It's now italicized the word every. Over on the left-hand side, instead of emphasizing this word, I can also use another element called italics. I'll change this to an I, and here I'll change this to an I, and then I'll save the file. And back over on the right-hand side, I'll press the F5 key. And it doesn't look like there's any difference. Here it still shows every cookie made in italics. Here's every in italics. Visually, they look exactly the same. So does it matter whether you use I or EM for emphasis? It does. When you use a screen reader, it'll read the words differently. When you use EM, it'll apply extra emphasis to the word every. However, if I just use I, that only affects the visual appearance, and a screen reader wouldn't treat it any differently. So the element that you use is very important. So although they may look the same visually, keep in mind that screen readers may treat them differently. Back over on the left-hand side, you can also bold a word. Here, I'll change the I to a B, save the file, and let's refresh, and here we see every in bold. I can also change this to strong. I'll copy this text and let's place it in for the closing tag, save the page, and here I'll refresh. And here again, just like with emphasis and I, you'll notice that the visual treatment's exactly the same, but this word for screen readers now carries additional weight. Back over on the left-hand side, I can also underline words. Instead of strong, I'll enter in a U, and here I'll change that to a U. And over on the right-hand side, let's refresh, and here we see that the word is underlined. There are many different elements that you can use to affect the visual appearance and also the semantic meaning of the word. As we've been working through this, you're probably realizing that HTML is not a programming language. Instead, it's what's referred to as a markup language. That is, after all, why it's called hypertext markup language. As we're going through this HTML file, we're marking up or declaring what all of these different elements are. Here's the header. Here's another header, but not quite as important as the main title. Here's a paragraph, and here's another paragraph. We're helping tell the browser what every single element is within this HTML file. Along with entering in individual elements, you can also tell the browser what elements go together. For instance, here I have deliciousness in every bite with all of this text, and this all belongs together. So I want to tell the browser that. Right up above, I'll insert some new lines. And here, I'll declare this as a section. Now, I also need to close it out. I'll enter the end tag at the bottom. Here, I'll enter section, and let me put in a /. Now, it's a little hard to read or to know that all of these other elements go within the section element. And to make all of your different HTML more readable, I also recommend using indentation. So here I'll indent this out, indent out my paragraph, and also indent out this paragraph. Now, Notepad isn't quite the best. Here you see the text wrapping, so it's a little hard to tell that all of this is within section. So we could go up to View, and here's the option to turn off word wrap. And when I select this, here it's very easy to tell that all of this content goes within this section and that all of this content is related. Next, I want to enter another section into my HTML file. Here, I'll insert a new line, and here I'll enter in a new section. Just like